All right. We are live. Wow, it looks like everybody's in the chat. I missed chat there. We got Sharon, Shannon, hello, CP. Hello, Tracy Dover. What's going on, everyone? See, I got a link there for Sparky. Sparky's joining me for the first time. Just kind of curious about what Sparky does. And, we talked a couple times. I think we joined each other on a live stream with OCST before. Talked a little bit. So I thought, I'd get to talk some more about what we do and see what else is going on out there. Of course, I got LIB. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, I don't know how long I'll last, but we just talked about it. But.
Yeah. All right.
A little hot and humid down there, right?
Yeah.
I literally just got in the door and but it doesn't matter. I wanted to pop in, show some support for a bit.
So it's Sparky's Paranormal and Outdoors, right?
Yes, sir.
And where are you at? Like, where are you based out of?
I'm in the mountains of Idaho.
Mountains of Idaho. Okay.
Right.
How's the summer treating you there?
Not too bad. It's been pretty hot today. It's 84.
84? Okay. It's been kind of like weird here. Ohio's got such weird weather, man. Such weird weather.
We normally don't ever get that hot. Like, everybody back east are like 100 degrees and that kind of thing. My house is at 5,200 feet elevation. So, yeah, I'm cool most of the time.
Yeah, everything kind of passes by you too. So it's got to be fun. It's got to be fun, and and maybe not all the time fun, but you know what I mean. Like when the storms just come in and like you could see them from a distance. I always love that. Like
it's so everybody loves it up here until the wintertime. We get a 5 foot of snow. So if you can't deal with 5 foot of snow, you don't want to be up here.
God.
I've always thought it was cool when you're like at above like anything above like 3,500, 5,000 is great. But like when you can like kind of like see a storm like go past, but it doesn't hit you. You know what I mean? You can just see it kill another mountain, and it just doesn't touch you. It's pretty interesting. Like
that's the spot I go up when I go Bigfoot, and I got one spot up there that's kind of have interesting spiritual stuff going on. Yeah. The top of that is 8,400 feet. And so when you get up there, you can just see all the clouds, like thunderstorms rolling across the mountains. They're not even near you. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Right.
It's amazing.
Normal Walks, Damien. Hello. Gooden's Auto. What's up? So everybody's saying hello. And we got Kurt.
I can't see it.
Kurt, my dude.
W75. Is that somebody that must be like one of your regulars, Sparky?
Oh, yeah. Like Kurt, CP, Elder.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them in there.
Yeah. Kurt's new. I don't think I've met Kurt before, but thank you for being here. So when did this paranormal kind of aspect of, maybe exploring, getting out there, when did it kind of start for you, Sparky?
Well, I was open to it a long time ago because I was kind of raised by my grandfather, and he was very Native American. So I was already open to it. But my mother was very religious, so I had to wait till I kind of came out of the military, and then I started really diving into it, and then became a cop, had some experiences during that, and just kept on going. I've been doing Bigfoot stuff since I was in high school. Living in the Cascades out in Washington State. He's up there a lot. So, yeah, I've always been interested in it. Now I'm kind of retired and get to do what I want, so I'm really diving into it now.
Was there like a certain point where you got like you got so interested and so curious, you just kind of knew you're like, I really just want to keep like finding out what is out there, like something that like you look back at and think of like a point that made you like your drive, that made you want to see what what's there, what drives you?
Oh, sure. It's like I was researching and doing that kind of stuff before, but when I really were like, now I'm doing it. And I've told this story before on another podcast. I was a law enforcement officer going to a burglary call. Another guy joined up with me. It just snowed. We got to the house, no footprints. He went around the left side of the house. I went around that right side of the house using flashlights to see where we could be like footprints, or did they go in a window or what? And I came around the corner of the back of the house, and I had a full-on apparition standing in front of me that was, about 6 foot tall in old Western gear. And I was like, oh crap, pulled my gun and was like, show me your hands. And then I looked down and I realized he didn't have feet. And he disappeared. And then my buddy came around the other corner, and then he was like, what the hell? Cause now I'm pointing my gun at him. That was one point where that guy was so real. I was like, no, that's not a bump in the night. That's not, you hear whisper. That was like right in front of me, and to the point where I drew my firearm. So
right. Yeah. Now, if thinking back, did he seem at all like? I mean, other than the feet, was it like really disfigure, like maybe even Smokey like, or did he actually have like real, like did he have real definition? Did he look like really like a real person standing there? Like
he was solid. It was like a duster type coat, cowboy hat-ish. It was all worn down. It wasn't like our today cowboy hats. It was like more flat. And he had his head kind of down. I could tell he had a beard. I mean, he was like, anybody standing there.
Right. Just like it was somebody. You didn't think twice that it would have been anything but a person standing there.
Yeah. That's
probably why you saw the feet.
That's why I wasn't scared at first, because I thought it was a person until I didn't see the feet. And I was like, oh crap.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just curious because like some people have an interest in paranormal things and they watch some things and then they start trying to explore for themselves, and they start that because of what they see or hear. And then there's some like myself who I watched some of those things, but I was living my life. I worked all the time, I was working to support family, and I always had that curiosity, watch shows like Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures. But then, the first real experience that happened to me kind of was where my interest started growing to where I started to pursue it. Up until that first experience that happened to me, I never really pursued it.
Those shows weren't even out yet, I don't think. This was like 93.
Okay.
If they were, I wasn't watching them. I mean, afterwards, when they got popular, I was like, oh wow. But yeah, that
was more like the Unsolved Mysteries days, huh? On TV.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I remember those. That was about the only thing you got to see of like weird paranormal things that were captured on video. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was just curious. I always wondered that because it's something I don't really get to ask too many people. And I was just curious about that. But I've seen something like that one time that was like an apparition. That's why I was curious how it looked to you, because I seen it at night and it was in a cemetery. And I saw a man standing by a mausoleum, and I recognized him, but he was completely a dark, smoky version of a person. And by the time I recognized him and seen him looking at me, he collapsed and dropped, and it like swirled. But he was as real looking as like a person was. Like I saw like the definition of him, but he was definitely like, there wasn't any characteristics that looked different, like clothing wise. It was just all black. And like
I have seen those. I've only seen like two that look like real people. The rest of them, like, law enforcement, you have to go to a lot of places that are dark and scary and all that kind of stuff. I've seen like the shadows that you're talking about where you can tell it is a person, but they don't have the defining features, if you will. So I have seen kind of like that before. But the whole swirly thing going down, that's kind of freaky.
Yeah, like I was actually, before I started doing my own thing, I kind of like filmed for someone, and it was like the first time I did something like that. And sure enough, that's where I seen it. And I turned and I looked at it because there was a medium that said something to the effect like, "Who's at the gates?" She was like reading. to me, and I was like, who's at the gates? And I'm like, okay, there's mausoleum gates. And so I turned towards the gates of the mausoleum, and sure enough, there he was. And I was like, I saw it, and I just got stunned for a second, and I could tell somebody was there, and I kind of was like, whoa. And in that second I seen him, he literally looked like he just went right to the ground, and like it just looked like a swirl of like smoke to the ground and like dissipated.
That's
Weird.
freaky. That's freaky.
Yeah, that was strange. But that was like the only time I seen like an apparition that was like a full figure. So like when you talk
I
about
saw the,
what's
oh,
that,
sorry,
Mike?
go ahead. Well, I was just gonna say I've seen the reverse effect where I saw like a white cloud, like, and it was kind of like out of my peripheral, and like it was like this big smoky thing, probably about 2 feet off the ground, maybe 4 or 5 feet wide, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 5 feet high, but like whatever. It was just over here, and it was moving past me, and as it passed me, it was like I noticed it, and it did the, like you said, that spiral thing. It all kind of like all of that big cloud, like almost like interwound itself and went down towards the ground, and it turned into this white like dog. But it wasn't solid. It was like a spiritual dog. I was told it's called a wahila. Do I know for a fact that's what it was? No, I have no idea. I could just tell you what happened. And that was kind of weird to me, but that registered with me when you said the swirling, like how he kind of swirled back down into the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've a couple of times had seen a smaller like cloud. That's the way I can describe it, as a cloud.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to
Almost
explain.
like a baseball size, like look like a little like dark, like grayish cloud. Almost reminded me of like what the big man I seen was made out of, but just like a round small ball of it and moving like on the ground. I actually thought it was a rabbit, and then all of a sudden I realized it wasn't, and then that didn't make sense either because it was in the same cemetery, and I was kind of just like what am I looking at? And then it was gone, and I was like, it all added up that night. But yeah, that was like apparition like of energy or something,
Yeah.
But that's interesting though, to see a man like full definition that looks like a real
Sure.
person. That would be insane. Like I can only imagine, especially if you're like by yourself somewhere, maybe investigating, and then boom, there he is. It'd be like, be one of those unloading in your pants moments, man. Hey, Ramona.
Yeah, that's after the fact when you realize that was real.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the old Western look, like, I mean, in the mountains of Idaho, there probably were, people walking around back then, like.
Well, this happened in Washington State, but it is on a dead end road on Lake Chelan, small village up there. And yes, a lot of people do dress pretty Western, and it was a pretty late developing area. I'll put it that way.
So that's is that where you were at before? Is Washington? Okay. I always hear a lot about Washington and Bigfoot sightings.
Yeah.
It's like goes hand in hand, right?
A lot of activity. Yeah. First time I heard him, I didn't even know what it was. Junior in high school, me and my brother was out. He did a big ass scream, which like scared us, resonated us. My brother wasn't a woodsman, so he's looking at me going, "What was that?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And it was when I was a senior, he was in college. The Bigfoot Society actually was on TV and played one of the Bigfoot calls, and he called me up and goes, "Turn your TV on." That's what we heard.
Wow.
There's a lot of stuff up there. I've never seen them, but I've had rocks thrown. I've had logs moved. I've had go down to a trail and have like trees thrown over the top of the trail behind me, saying don't go there.
Yeah, that's the rock phenomenon is something that I've experienced a couple. I mean, 2 particular times that were really intense. Many times, like remember when I was visiting Mike.
I witnessed. Yeah, I was going to say I witnessed it once.
Yeah, that time there, that was strange. That was like I think I even showed you that. I remember, Sparky, I think I was doing that live stream with OCST and you, and I showed that little clip from when we were down in Long Island, and it sounded like something landed right next to my feet. And it was like that. What was that?
I remember
like
that, yeah.
Sounded like that glass rock, like just tapped on the ground next to me.
Yeah.
That was strange.
That's what I said. I was like, it sounded like glass, or like almost like a bathroom tile. And then he's like, would this be it? And it's a piece of flat slate rock. And I'm like, that's exactly what, you know what I mean? Because like there was something moving in front of us, and I'm like telling him, hey, I'm gonna like take off in there. And then like that happens, and I'm like, you know, I kind of hit the brakes, but that was that was really cool. And it was very the coolest part for me, I think, is that whatever it was that did that, I'll leave that open to interpretation. I have my own thoughts, but it made sure that he knew it was like for him. Like it's not like it came flying in, or like, oh, it landed between us. Like it was like bloop, like dropped like shallow at his foot. You know what I mean? Like.
And that's a lot of things. I mean, you can tell when somebody's trying to fake crap. But I mean, a lot of this stuff, especially with like the rock thrown. My buddies went up to a camp, and they got on 2 different cameras where they were coming back to the camp, and something in the tree line threw a rock into the pond.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like, that's a personal experience. You can't explain it, you can't prove it, but it did happen. You know. Unless you have 5 guys in the woods that are like totally silent, waiting for you to walk by, it's something else. I mean,
yeah, that happens a lot. Those kind of things. That's something that I've experienced a lot. Are those little things like that seem like they're there. They like let you know. They give you these little signs. They seem subtle sometimes, and a lot of times it's hard to even hear with your devices and stuff like that. But you usually pick up on them and you're aware of them. And
there's no
experience to really understand or believe them, you know.
And I think, like you said, sometimes they're just saying I'm here, and other times they're like, don't go there, you know, just like turn around, or because you're getting too close to like their nursery or something like that. It gets kind of, sometimes when it happens, you have to think about why and how.
Yeah. But there was one particular place up in the Catskills that it was for a full year, pretty much. I was working these areas in Catskill Park, and you know, I would throw in a random one like probably once a week, but I was working these like 4 or 5 like one, you know, daily, like once a week, like every day. And there was just this one spot where I could sense that there was this big boy, like this big dominant male, and like I would get these, however you want to put it, signs, energy, sounds, whatever, you know, don't keep pushing in here. Don't keep pushing. And it took me a long, long time to even make my way like at all, but I didn't want to just give in necessarily. Right. So I was respectfully like,
Here you go, Tracy.
that was an occasion where I would respectfully say, okay, I hear you. I understand. I apologize. And like, I would like leave gifts. Now, if there's other areas where like things are like destroyed by like humans, I'll like try and make amends and gift there and things. And like, you know, but you know, there's definitely some areas you're going to go in where whatever takes occupancy there is not going to like, you know, like humans.
I think they share pretty well most of the time, depending on where you're at. If you get too close to like their nesting area, nurseries, or their main area,
Yeah, nurseries is a big one, definitely.
So, how long have you been like running your channel, Sparky? Like, how long have you been putting out content and doing content?
Like a year.
Okay.
And I really haven't put out a whole lot. I started working with like Richie B, or Banner Richie B. He does Bigfoot stuff, and then the text group and several other of the podcast groups. I spook all that kind of stuff, and they end up when I was talking to them, they're like, "You're smart. Come on my podcast." And so I got on podcast, and I haven't had a chance to put out a lot of actual media yet.
Okay,
That's okay.
I'm getting there though. I'm getting there.
I'm interested in your audio though. Those audio devices.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look into those because that's one of the things that's hard to get. Hard to get something that's reliable and gives you good audio when you're out doing any kind of investigating.
Yeah, we have like anything audio I usually send to my buddy Mike up in Ontario, like Sasquatch, Ontario. I usually send because he's like as far as my network goes, like I'm sure there's other people that are good with it, but like as far as my network goes, he's like the person I know who does audio the most. So like whenever I get something, I'm like, hey bro, like what could this be? You know, could this be something else? Like, you know, and yeah, it's like that with everything. Like we have like a botanist, we got a rock specialist, we got all sorts of crap. Like one time
That's
I found
awesome.
like one time I found this green like stick, like it was like greenish blue, and I thought it was this amazing special thing, and maybe it was. I was like, and the botanist was like, yeah, that's algae, and I'm like, out here? I'm like, out here in the woods, like he's like, yeah, it gets moist and this and that, and I'm like, all right, and they're not all home runs, sometimes you think you found something cool, and it's just there's an easy explanation. So it's good to have smart people around when in different areas. There's no Bigfoot experts, but it's good to have experts in field.
That's my rule: is surround yourself with people smarter than you.
Yeah,
it's like my rule.
Yeah, so, we got a guy like Hunter Man. He's our like tracker, like hunter, bushcraft. Yeah, sometimes like I think I found the king of all structures, and he's like, yeah, like that's human made, and I'm like, there's no way, and he'll be like, this is why, and I'm like, oh, all right, I would have never, would never got there.
So you're talking about the audio. So I'm more in audio than video because I feel you pick up more, especially in paranormal. With audio than you do anything else. So that I use a Zoom H6. Zoom is like known to be one of the best recorders out there. This one, a lot of like the TV guys that go out backpacking use. So this is a right and left mic, and that could actually be taken off and put a boom mic on there or a dome mic or whatever. It has 4 different ports for boom mics on the side. But what's really cool about this one, it saves everything in separate files. So you can listen to one, or you can listen to all of them at the same time. And they're always lined up, so you don't have to mess with them when you're putting them in your editor. And each one of these dials actually lets you adjust that mic. So if I have a lot of air noise on this mic, I can turn this down so I don't get the air noise anymore.
Nice.
That's
cool. That's what I was talking about. Like
they're worth it. They're very worth it.
I'm gonna look into them because that's one of the things that like for the most part, I do capture a decent amount of evidence, even with just like my camera. That's what I use for recording my videos on, and I pick up a decent amount with just the camera mic. So it seems like some of the better made phones have a decent camera and microphone in them now. But
yeah, like
something like that is more ideal for.
Like at first, I was using this in a whole bunch of the little cheap recorders.
Yeah.
Yeah, me. Yeah.
When I went to that thing, from this, number one, that picks up a ton more, especially like the really, when you get the little whispers, you can't tell what it says.
Yeah.
With that one, you can pull it off because you can adjust it so much. So yeah, it's really odd. It's like if you get something like that, the audio pickup you think you get from your camera or like these, it goes like miles high.
Yeah, I do a lot of that when I'm editing, especially I hear a lot of low frequency sounds that a lot of times I always check to hear if it's an EVP, if that's what I'm picking up or not. And I do a lot of, editor amplifying, and I'm kind of limited to what I can do. And sometimes just with amplifying my audio from my phone isn't always, the best, but
No.
So I'm definitely looking at something like that. So I'm gonna look it
I've
up.
showed a lot of people on my. I have the Galaxy 24, I think, or maybe it's the 23. I don't even know what number they're up to.
That's I
But
got
there's different. So look, there's different options in the audio. So you have 360, or you could do Zoom mic. And Zoom microphone, if you're zoomed out to like, one times one or all the way back to full screen, right? You're going to hear a lot of, like, your voice is going to sound loud. But now if you see a deer 100 yards out drinking from the water and you zoom in all 20 times to that deer's head and mouth, it picks up that sound of it drinking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that really is really, really helpful. But then again, if something happens behind you, it don't really pick it up, right? So it does pay to have good audio equipment. It definitely does.
Yeah, just to have like an audio, like having that audio recorder going with you when you're doing whatever you're doing, in addition to your camera and everything else. So you can.
And it helps, like if you have something like that is like when I go into a spot before I set up, I just hit record. It put on just set it over, so it's recording as I'm setting up. And I've had hellos. I've had like actual good EVPs when I'm setting stuff up, which normally you don't get. So I always like to do that. But again, everybody that wants to do this stuff, use what you got and then build on it slowly.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're walking into the woods or into a house or whatever, like, and it's got dark entities in there or whatever, I mean, that the kind ones that say hello and this and that, they're not going to be, the ones that you get when you get inside. So, I mean, that's probably a good way to do things. You know what I mean? Because, like, an evil spirit's not going to hang out in the living room, right? It's like in the basement, in the corner, in the attic, in the dark. You know what I mean? It goes to these, right? Like these hiding places almost, right? Like,
well, and then you won't get the kinder spirits hanging around as soon as they get there. Because
exactly, yeah.
There's a reason why they're the powerful ones. There's a reason why they're the kind of the butts, if you will, of the property.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You said it best. Yeah.
Well, I was talking to Sparky about some of the things like the transcend theory that I started using, and I picked up an example I was going to show everyone. If you didn't see the live stream from July 5th, there's something interesting I captured that I'm going to show. Something very interesting, kind of an interaction that took place involving transcend theory and what seemed like some intelligent spirit communication. And I'm going to show that and let everybody see that. Tell me what you guys all think of this. Laser. I've got a laser in my pocket. Let's just try something. I'm going to shine my laser briefly here. I was talking to Jack on the radio. Can you see it? You see my laser?
Copy that. I see.
Oh, you see. Oh my God, that's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, you see it. Wow. That's something different. I don't think I've had that kind of interaction before. That was something. You see it. Okay. Thank you. Anything else you want me to do?
Angie.
Angie? Did you just say Angie? All right.
I love that.
That's pretty cool. That
was really immediate response. I thought it was funny because you asked a question to Jack, but it answered you on that.
Yeah, actually, I was asking the spirit that.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't actually asking Jack. I was asking the spirit that. I just called Jack to let him know that I was gonna flash it, so
the laser, yeah,
he wouldn't freak out if he saw a laser, because you know how it is. I've worked with these guys long enough that we use lasers a lot, and I know if somebody doesn't call it out and you're not expecting it, and you'll see it, but you might not see the beam, and you might just see it and you'll be like, oh, there's a green orb, or something. You won't know what it is. So I always, I just called him, but actually, no, I was actually, because I did the whole thing happened because I was curious because of the comment that came through. The message was laser. And I was like, could this actually be talking to me, wanting to see my laser? So that's how it went. And so once I shined it, I asked if you could see it, And I wasn't expecting that, but that's why I still do it, just because I try to get evidence showing if the transcend theory and the spirit communication, how much, how like real.
So can I bring something up real quick? I don't think it's talked about enough in our field. How you guys are doing your video, how your stomach growls or tickles. You're like, that's me. That's over there. I got horses behind this fence. My cameraman's up to there. That's his light. Most people don't do that. And so people watching don't know what's, spiritual and what's just stuff there. I thought it was awesome how you did that and how you explained it all the way through. And when you heard something you didn't know what it was, you actually explained it really well of what it sounded like, where it was, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I had to throw that in there. I'd give you props on that one.
Appreciate it. It's me. It's all about being genuine or disingenuous. Like, it's like I just can't be disingenuous. Like if there is, if something happens and I know what the noise is, but it could be confused to something else, I'm not going to let it go, because I don't want to put like some kind of false pretense out there, like, oh, they're going to think it's a growl. I'm just going to let that go and let everybody think this was a growl. And everybody's going to be in the comments saying, oh, that was a growl when it was my stomach growling, and I'm going to call that out, because I don't want to mislead anybody to thinking what they heard was something, because that I absolutely try to make any evidence I capture, that's real. So they see it as, what it is. Everything is what it is, right?
That's the thing, is like our field, honesty is a very, very needed thing for investigator, because if they don't believe you going in, if you go in a building and something happens, you're going to have people saying there was fishing wire over there and there was, a speaker over here or whatever. If people know how you do things and you're honest, it kind of helps when you actually do get something to kind of go, no, don't say I did something, explain what happened.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's what it's about. That's all, that's what the whole purpose is to show.
Yeah. There's no point in doing it if you're going to cheat. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make any sense. There's too much work. And I say this to people all the time, and they come out with me and they, if there's somebody new and I see them doing some funny shit or whatever, I'll be like, hey, do not. On your own time, I don't care. But when I work too damn hard, with me, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know about it. And it's very rare. You know what I mean? It's very rare, but and you do see it along the way. You do see it. And I'm not one of those people that feels the need to call people out and shit. I just distance myself. You know what I mean? And the way I look at it is you got to be the change you want to see. And that's, and I've told these guys too, what you just told them is why I respected them from the beginning, is they work hard at it. They go out, they put their time in. They don't jump to conclusions. They don't just say, oh, this is this. It's, it is or it isn't. There's enough weird to the point where you don't have to add fluff. I call it fluff. There's enough weird stuff going out that you don't have to, embellish.
Yeah, people are going to catch it. Honestly, that's
eventually, yeah.
But yeah, right. If that's the thing, that's just a no-brainer to me. It's if you are someone who's not going to be honest and you're going to be disingenuous about your evidence and you're going to try to hide something as this or disguise it as this, people are going to see it. And then, it's that whole, if somebody lies about something, everything snowballs for you. You're going to get caught lying and it's going to be the end. And if you're trying to show these amazing encounters that you have, like I said, most people are driven by their experiences, and you know what can happen because you've experienced it and you're trying to show those things. There's nothing better than having these encounters and really capturing it. So if nothing happens, that's fine, but what you want is you want to just call it, what you capture is what happens. And when something amazing happens and you capture it, then, that's what's amazing. And if you can just show people the truth and what happens, that's what it's about,
I like to always say it's like hitting a lottery. People are like, well, he's good. I like what he does, but his videos are boring. If anybody's gone out an investigation for 8 or 10 hours, most of them are boring. There's nothing happening. You're lucky to get maybe one EVP or two a night. When stuff kicks off, it kicks off. So it's kind of like, I know people watch some of those just because of the value of the videos. I get that. But I'm glad, like how you're doing your videos, it's more engaging for people to actually watch real investigators. It's also the communication between you and the cameraman and explaining everything and talking through it and being more of a host than a drama fest, if you will.
Yeah. It's what was I going to say? I was going to say I'll have to come back on that.
It's an investment. I mean, not financially. It's an investment. You have to, like, if you really want to see one or really want to witness something, you have to invest your man hours and your time and your whatever. Like, I mean, you can do a million other things. You know what I mean? You could catch thousands of fish in the amount of time it'll take you to get, to witness something. So, like, do what you love. I tell people all the time, if you don't love being out there, if you don't love what you're doing, it ain't gonna love you back. Because you get ticks, you get poison ivy, you get bruises, you fall down, you waste gas, you do this, you do that. It's wear and tear on everything in your life, and including relationships. You know what I mean? So, like,
and most people don't understand that. It's like, oh, you went out for like 6 or 8 hours, but now you have multiple audios you have to go through, cameras, and then you have to do the video. You're talking like 3 or 4 days just to get something out half the time on a long investigation.
I respect editing. Like, I don't know how to do it. I'm not good at it. Like, I've always been like, I just kind of film and then just put it out, and like it worked for me for a while, but it's
yeah. When if you're really fascinated by like the EVP phenomenon, and you're like, sometimes I can when I used to do a lot of audio separate recording from my video, I would spend probably 2 or 3 times the amount of editing time on audio alone versus just my video editing, because I would sit there, every little odd sound that I'm like, that sounds like that might be a low EVP. And then I'd be like expanding it, amplifying it more, slowing it down a little bit, because there's, sometimes there's just so many weird things with EVPs you can find, that I found. Sometimes slowing them down, sometimes seems like there's some weird speed up process to some of them. So it's like, you could spend days just on audio, and then you edit the video part and you're done in hours. And, it's
I just had one of those. I put it up, and I think it was CP or somebody said, you need to slow that down. And as soon as I slowed it down, like, then it finally came out where you could actually understand it. And when you're doing that for a full night investigation, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, sure does. Yeah, and that's one of the things I changed, and I was letting everybody know. I think I did a live stream like this, and my whole point of it was I was letting people know. I'm like, well, here's what you're going to see. It might seem boring. I'm like, but you're going to see less cuts. I'm like, I just felt like, I think it adds more to the authenticity of the evidence when you see a video and the evidence that I capture, whether it's, things that happen, you're seeing it and you're not seeing like cuts, and it cuts right to the evidence. And people are going to be kind of like, well, did he go back? Is he out of place? Because I've seen people do that disingenuously, where they'll, I think there's been people called out on big platforms, on ghost hunting crews.
Let me tell you, bro, every time I show a highlight of something, like let's say the White Sasquatch video, for instance, I have a video that, where it's short. It's a short version. It's just a highlight so people could see it. And I get a comment probably, even still going, this is a couple years back, maybe 3, but I don't know. I still get somebody once in a while. Oh, this is BS. Doesn't add up. That's fake. That's this. Oh yeah, you just bumped into it in 2 seconds. There's a full video right before it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, of me walking for a long ass time before that happened, and after, you know what I mean? And like, and that's been like to my own fault to an extent because I don't know how to edit. So I just put out the whole thing. But then it also benefits me in the long run if something happens because I have all this stuff, you know what I mean? Like all the stuff leading up to and leading from. So it's kind of good and bad. But he's right. It's always going to be a double-edged sword, no matter what you do, and you have to understand that going in. Like, you're not going to please everybody. Everything's a double-edged sword. If you get something great, but not great because people are going to attack you for it. Like, it's kind of,
Well, I think it's
just
good
one
when
of those
people
things.
question you. Like, they question how it happened, where it was, what happened before it. I think that's a good thing. But yeah, I do try to put up like a full video and then put up reels. Like, me and Mike were talking earlier. He was trying to put up reels. Like, you get a video and then you're trying to get reels so people see, if they don't want to watch the full video, what actually happened in it. And then if the question is like, well, watch the video, you can see the whole thing start to done.
Yeah, YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, I wish I knew more about like technology, especially when I started. Like when I started, I just started. I like just did it. Like from the minute I started trying to do this stuff, I just would hold a camera in my hand and just, you know what I mean? And I was live streaming. And this is going back like a long time ago, before people live streamed Bigfoot research. So a lot of the people who were out there just putting videos out, like short videos, and they were like messaging me, getting pissed. They were like, "You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They're like, "You don't show everything and how you do it." Da 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 da. And I'm like, "Do whatever I want." Like, what do you know what I mean?
That's what YouTube's about. That's one of the things that's nice about YouTube. Now,
Yeah, back in the day, it was a rough entrance for me.
I've been on YouTube since 2005. It's grown a lot. It's grown a lot.
Yeah, my account's probably, I don't know how old my account is, but because we all have accounts, but then you start making content at some point,
So, Mike, are you going to be doing both Bigfoot, spiritual, ghosts, everything? Kind of like when it fits your area and everything else? Because that's kind of how I do it,
Well, my focus has always been what kind of started everything for me, and that was the communication that, like, I think I mentioned to you, most people might know my story of my first experience where I had a voice speak to me through my phone. And that was what started me on this path of trying to, like, I don't know if that was meant for me to try to connect. It almost seems like that encounter, you kind of wonder about why things happen. But my focus has always been about like trying to listen and communicate and see if that phenomenon happens. Like, how often can it happen? What else can happen? And I've always been focused on using, that's turned into not just an audio recorder now I use other ITC devices, but it's been more about like interacting and seeing how this kind of thing can happen, because it was pretty amazing to me. Like, how could this happen? Like I didn't believe it could happen. It just caught me out of the blue.
Of course.
So that's like my focus has been more like just connecting, communicating, calling out, and I'm starting to see a connection to like just there's something to the whole it's like 50-50.
Most people don't really care about things until it directly affects them, and it's not necessarily like by like on purpose, right? It's just It's just we're on our own paths, products of our environment, whatever. Like, let's say, like my child has autism. Now I care about autism, right? Which maybe I didn't before. It's not that I didn't care about it or whatever. I just didn't really pay attention to it the same way, right? Like, it's just things like that, right? Like, so when something paranormal smacks you in the face, like, oh, some people are able to just maybe like brush it off, brush it under the rug, whatever. And people like us are like, whoa, what the hell was that? Like, I want to, I
Right.
want to find some answers here.
And I've proven, I think I've, in the first early time period, which was around the first things like that started happening to my, my ex-wife and my kids, and all the whole first experiences is around 2015. And that's when I had that first experience. But I've also seen that if you do try to stop and not connect, not communicate, like the energy and everything. Now, this was just from my experience. I mean, I've read so many other accounts that, poltergeist activity. There's so many things that, like, I'm not trying to say that like mine is like everybody else's, but you can just like you can fade out. Like you can that kind of stuff will stop. It can. Apparently it did, and it can stop. But for me, it's like I like woke up some kind of an awakening where I've started to realize that there's some kind of 50-50 kind of connection that's needed if you want to if you want to make this connection, and you want to have communication. And Hillview Manor was a big eye-opening for me on this. You have to make like that 50% effort to make that encounter happen. And that's why I talk about manifesting things. Manifesting these things, I think, is what happens, and I think it's a 50% effort on your part to make it happen. But we're talking about the Bigfoot and like outside of like maybe spirit communication. That avenue all happened to me when I was out at West Branch Park at an area where there was a supposed witch buried, pressed out in the woods, and I was out there trying to capture EVPs, seeing what happens, and then I had a sighting of something that was not a spirit. It was some kind of an entity. Everything about it was bipedal, big. It fit what would be like a sighting of a Bigfoot, I guess, in size and everything. And I seen it briefly. I mean, I can still kind of describe what it looked like. So that kind of like really made me wonder, what the hell else is going on out here, in our world. Is it just out in nature? What else is out here? So I kind of started, I met up. That's when I started talking to the cameraman, because he works out in that area where I was at. And then I started kind of doing this like little bit of, I started dabbing my toes into trying to connect it with something else that might be out here, which I've seen something else is out here.
Right.
And, so I kind of do like a hybrid kind of interaction. But I wouldn't say I focus too much on it. I kind of just respect it. And sometimes if I start getting signs that there might be something else out there, I'll start moving that way.
I got you. Yeah, that's kind of what I do. When I'm out there and I'll keep my eye open, and if not, then not.
Yeah.
I do got to do a quick shout out to Elder Medicine Bearclaw, because she helped me on my last EVP where I had it in a different language, and it turned out to be Blackfoot.
I had the same thing from her. Yeah. I had her help me with the same kind of thing. That's funny. I had one that was sounded like it was Lakota.
Oh,
you
okay.
have to hear that EVP. Wow, I captured one that was amazing. It said, "Hey Tutoka." It was one of the clearest EVPs I've ever captured too. And they always say, like, I've heard this theory from people who, like Stephen Huff and others, they have a basis for a theory of a higher dimension, and there shouldn't be like this language disconnect between higher dimension and the lower dimension. So usually you're going to hear your own native language when you hear EVPs and things. So when I hear this obvious like native voice, I started scratching my head. Like that was like, so then I started wondering, maybe residual energies and voices aren't always native to your own. So I had Ramona listen to it, and she said that sounded Lakota. and it's Hey Tutoka was like saying granddaughter. So almost like it could have been a form of, I guess, of someone calling for like their granddaughter.
Oh wow.
It sounded like they were right by my camera when they said it. It was pretty amazing. It was over by the Hopewell. There's a Hopewell burial mound over here by me, and that's where I was at when I captured it. And I looked up some of the history and some of the, I can't remember some of the tribes, but I looked into it, and some of the older ancient language base does go to some of the origins of Lakota too, which I thought was really interesting. And I started kind of connecting the dots, and I was like, that's really, really cool.
Well, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder, for like what we're talking about, those kind of EVPs, there's also kind of a formal respect when indigenous or a tribal person meets you. They actually will speak their own language of greeting or whatever, and then speak English. And I'm wondering sometimes if that does not also cross over, because like you have yours, like mine. There's no Blackfeet tribe here at all. I happen to be doing a thing to help a person in that tribe though, right before I got that EVP, which is also kind of odd. But I think sometimes like people they hear Spanish, and I'm kind of wondering if that's kind of what they're doing. It's like they're first off greeting, and then they speak English or your native tongue.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That's like that shows you how deep possibly this, you could say, interdimensional connection of what happens in the spirit realm and here, how deep it can go.
Yeah, well,
So many things, you know?
and that goes to glyphs too, because I've had people come like talk about glyphs and this and that, you know, and they're like, "Oh, look at this glyph. It must mean this because it translates to this in Chinese." And I'm like, "Why are you looking up Chinese?" They're like, "Well, that's like how their lettering is." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Why would a Bigfoot in North America be speaking Chinese?" I'm like, "Why don't you like hone in on what's local, what's been here, right?" So like, I'm like, for me, I use like the rune alphabet, which is like Nordic, I believe, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And like, but there's I have a thing of all these different ancient, you know, cultures and stuff, and their alphabets, and you know, and like, but yeah, like he's saying, it probably would make sense to me that, yeah, like I would agree that whatever's there is probably speaking some sort of local, you know, local language.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff. You know, that's the one thing that I've realized, and that's I've said a bunch of times, and I'll still always say it, is like, you just I don't I am not looking for answers. And I can say, even though it sounds weird, it's like I don't think ever really will get real answers. You're just going to get little bits of information, and you're going to get experiences.
Experience.
The real answers are just beyond what I think we can really comprehend and understand.
And I think that's the difference with some people that go out that say they want to know, like, everything. They want answers for all their questions. What you got to realize is, like, you're basically going back to kindergarten. And so you're building your knowledge base to understand what's going on, to further your knowledge base, to figure out how to contact them and go on. It's like, it's not a simple answer. You're not going to go somewhere and have all the answers you got. It's a study. I mean, and it will take years upon years even to get that much of what's going on.
Yeah, we're a drop in the ocean is the best way to put it. Yeah. So like, and it's ignorant for me to say too that something I figure out over here is even relevant to over there or to that, you know, and that's where you get a lot of people butting heads. No, you're wrong. It's this. No, you're wrong. It's this. And I'm like, damn. I'm like, well, what are you so mad about? Like, even if you think he's 100% way off wrong, who gives a damn? Let him be that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just, like Mike said, I think you have to embrace experience more than anything, because like I stopped looking for big picture questions to be answered right away. I started just going in the woods or going to the water or wherever I was going and whatever I was doing and just saying, hey, like I'm here, I'm going to vibrate at this level, this frequency. I'm going to try and stay steady and like, universe, woods, whatever, I'm here. If you want to teach
one
me
of the big
something,
one of the
I'm
big
open.
problems you have when people do that is like, no, you're wrong. I don't agree with a lot of people, even my own group. But they have their own opinion. And if I actually shut my mouth and listen to them, where they're coming from and why they came to that conclusion, I might learn something. So a lot of people, I think they want to be right so much, or like have the right answer so much. They don't listen enough to figure out other points of view and other ways of investigating things they've never even thought of, because all of us come from different backgrounds. And
Absolutely.
we take all that information we have from different backgrounds, different cultures, different parts of the country. We're bringing it together. And so, it's a massive database if you think about it, when we all actually sit down and just like throw ideas around about what is something.
Yeah. But
look at the level that everybody, like some people have different levels of being able to connect, like some like mediums and other people. And then, that's something that I would never understand. So I'm not like saying, when I say like for me, answers, I won't ever get answers. I'm sure someone who has those kind of gifts, their view of things would be different than mine. But, I'm talking about my research from my point of view. But I and then everybody's probably on a different level, on how they actually can connect. Cause I think a lot of it is like you talk about your frequencies, right? Like your whole body, every part of your body, your heart, your brain, everything, your body, all your mix of frequencies of your body makes you like a beacon, and you have your own unique like aura. You can call it an aura, I call it an aura. And I think everybody's blend that makes this unique beacon is what makes everybody different with how these things happen to you wherever you're at.
Oh, sure.
So that's why like everybody's own kind of experiences and what you're doing will be different.
Yeah, it's true. You gotta enjoy your journey. You know what I mean? Like, but you can have like something I learned though. Like, you can have 5 people stand in a row in the dark, whatever, and a rock comes flying in. Those 5 people will tell you a completely different story. You know what I mean? Like, they'll tell you. One will tell you I was attacked. One will tell you that was playful. One will tell you that was funny. One will tell you, that was to scare us out of here. Let's run. One will say that was to lure us in. Let's go. You know what I mean? And here already with one single thing, there's complete difference, right? So like, it's a tough road to travel.
I'm starting to notice it's the location is actually, there's more to a location than I originally was starting to necessarily give it credit, because I thought most of it was about just you. But I think the location, I'm starting to notice from places I've gone, and I'm starting to think that there might be more to different kinds of lands, maybe ley lines or things, but there's definitely something different to places as well as just yourself.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to look at different things, like a quarry, for instance, right? A quarry used to be a beautiful rock area, whatever, and then humans came in and just hacked the crap out of it, right? Like, so, like, if nobody's been there since then, and you walk in there and like hike around, you might get a lot of like anger from that forest or whatever, that area, that what, you know what I mean? There's just
if you think about it, like spirits and stuff around us all the time. They might be weaker, so you don't see them, or in and out. But then you have areas where you've had a lot of gatherings or a religious rite or something like that. A lot of energy has actually been put into that just by people doing things, whether they're having parties or they're at church or whatever. And so different areas, of course, are going to have different higher levels of energy. Some beings will go there because of that, and others will stay away from it because of that. So, I mean, everything is a little different, and everything has their own place, if you will. Like, I hate it when people try to put everything they see or hear into a box. It's kind of like they're all different. They're kind of like us.
You know, I was going to, like one of the things too I notice is that distinct, like little bit of personality that may have existed, in the previous life from someone in their spirit. There's still like humor and anger and things, and I'm starting to notice this through like some of like the Transcend Theory app shining through again. I'm going to show you another example. This is at video coming out from the Ancient Forest, which you may have seen from the past. I found the video from my revisit, and I'm going to show you a little spoiler of a clip from there. And tell me what you guys think of this. This was pretty funny, and it's a little bit more about some of that personality coming through Transcend Theory of spirit. So I'm going to present this here. Back end. Ooh.
Are you behind us?
Who's back end? Whoa. Is that so? Talk about back end. She said, see yours in show. Okay, well, how's this? Do you see it now? Do you see my back end? We're showing our back end. You're probably laughing your ass off at us right now, aren't you?
That's funny.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny one, and I could tell. Like, I just knew when I heard that. I'm like, the back end, and when I started talking about my mind, like I just had a feeling. I'm like, back end. You're talking about your rear end, and then sure enough, when I heard that see yours in show, I was kind of like, no. I'm like, you're talking about our butts, aren't you?
That's good.
Yeah, and I'm going to show you something creepy that I didn't notice when I was there, but when I caught this on the playback, it really like, man, it kind of creeped me out a little bit, and I thought this was pretty. This was something that is that. I mean, actually, I don't know how to put it, but you have to see it, and I'll show you. It's from Hillview Manor. Let me close this out here. One more clip here. Okay, I was at One North. One North in Hillview Manor is one of the more like active parts of Hillview Manor. When you go there, if you see any of the videos or of the people who run the place, the history, One North has a lot of history of paranormal activity. And this was something that I didn't see. It didn't catch my eye when I was there, but when I was editing it, it caught my eye, and it kind of like gave me chills. And I was like, wow, I was like, that was pretty neat. But here, watch this. Okay, I'll title it and circle it. You'll see what I'm talking about.
I'm over here in One North right now in Hillview Manor. Cameraman had some interesting activity over here.
Watch the exit sign blink when I say hello.
So I decided to come over and pay a visit. Hello over here.
Did you see that?
That's odd.
My name's Mike.
I'm going to go back a little bit for that.
Because those are battery pack. That should not be doing that.
Yeah, here it is again.
Okay.
And I couldn't recall seeing any of those do that
I'm over
when I was there. Like when I was editing this, and I started paying attention to those exit signs, and I couldn't recall seeing that
had some
at
interesting
any other
activity
time.
over here.
You know, it was right after I said hello.
So I decided to come over and pay a visit. Hello over here.
Oh, yeah, now I see it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, did you see it?
My name's
Very,
Mike.
very odd.
Yeah, I just had, as soon as I saw that, I got a feeling. I'm like, I think that was blinking at me when I said hello. And I got that feeling, and boy, I got the chills. I was like, if that's what that was, that was pretty cool. But the way that place went that day, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
Very cool catch.
Yeah, I said I didn't see it. Like that was one of those things that if I had noticed that with my eyes, I probably would have said something like, "Ooh," like I would have actually said it because I definitely noticed it when I edited it. It was like stood out immediately. I was like, "Oh, how did I miss that?" Sorry, I've been gabbing away. I missed a lot of chat.
Oh, you're good. I'm gonna slide out my cab and
All right, bro.
catch up with you. I appreciate
Yeah.
you having me.
No problem, Mike. Thanks for joining, man.
Parky,
night,
nice
Mike.
to meet you. I'll talk to you later though, Mike.
All right. Have a good one.
Good night, everybody. I don't know how to back out. I forget. Oh, here we go.
See, I think I could boot you if you can't. Okay. Yeah. Well, we've been just chatting away about anything. Anything you want to talk about? Anything, anything you want to tell everybody?
No, I've only had a couple stuff I did. I'd hit the mountain once, like 3-4 weeks ago. Found like a 16 inch print up there. Couldn't find my location I was going to, which kind of ticked me off. Then had some one really crazy night for investigation where they shut off my recorder, shut off my video recorder, and then they sped up one of them, so I have like part of my recording that actually goes like super speed. I don't know how they did that, but they messed with all my equipment that night. Tried to go live, wouldn't let me go live. It kept on blocking me. And then, like I said last night, I went out there, and all of a sudden now I can go live out there, and everything worked fine. And I got a really cool reaction with my EV or EF meter. That was kind of cool. On command 4 times, we'll have it go off and then shut down, go off, shut down. So I'm as soon as I get the video part down, I'll have some good actual videos going up, hopefully.
Oh, cool. I was just thinking I had, I don't know if you've seen that video I did, the house on Owen Hill. But I captured some of the most active device activity that I've probably seen anywhere. But
Yeah.
I captured something that I've never noticed before that I don't think I can recall seeing is a correlation to the magnetic sweeping on an EMF meter on a K2 that was in correlation with actual voices.
Really?
Yeah, so it made me start wondering if what was going on almost like had some kind of a net of energy effect that was strong enough that it was picking up like enough that even our voices when we were projecting into a magnetic field and putting off projecting that energy to
Right.
being a readable amount. And I've never seen that before. And when I watched it, I couldn't believe it because I've seen it like several times throughout the video. I caught it. One time it was a whisper that I talked to the people that were there and nobody could confirm who was whispering. So it was very strange. And the whispering itself was actually matched up to it. And then there was times where like my friend Matt was talking, and I think even I was talking, T-Mac was talking, and there's times throughout the whole video when we're there and we have the devices up and we're in the one schoolroom area, and you can see when we talk how the actual
it actually shows.
same voice waves are showing on the EMF meter as we're talking, and you can tell it's like synced.
Weird.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. It's the only time I've ever seen that. It's
Yeah. I'll have to do some experience because, that usually in that building never goes off ever. They don't like it. They never use it. But now that you say that, that's very, very interesting. I'll have to play with that.
That was, like I said, that was a first for me. I had never seen that. And I'm actually going to try to find some of that if I can. And I think I might actually have a clip of that to show specifically.
Well, that'd be cool.
I'm going to try to find it real quick. Okay, I do. All right. I do have it. Let me get that up here, and here we go. This was the whispering one. This is the one that we couldn't verify anybody that was actually whispering, because I asked the people that were there and nobody could verify it was them. But it sounds like somebody's there whispering.
Okay.
Here we go. Oh, sorry. The volume's really low. Let me start that over.
Man, that is a weird whisper, and yeah, that's odd.
Yeah, it like copied the laugh. It like if I don't know how loud it came up. I'm not sure how to really amplify the volume on StreamYard from the.
Yeah, I could hear it enough.
But you can hear like a whisper before the laughing in the whisper, and that little like move of the EMF meter was that little voice, and then it goes into the laugh, and the laugh like spikes on the meter with it. That's very strange. And then there were times where we were sitting in that same area with the meter there, and just I was saying something and T-Mac was saying something. Like, I think all of us, it happened when all of us were talking, and it did that same kind of thing while we were talking.
Like responding to your guys' voice.
Yeah, it's almost like I said, it's almost like somehow there was such an active, like almost like magnetic energy around that our voice was like projecting EMF through, and the meter was picking it up somehow. Like us talking was actually putting off an EMF field that was being registered on the meter. Somehow our voice was, I mean, I'm not sure, unless there's something else like that was not us copying it, but it almost seems like it's an energy thing, and somehow our voice was actually interacting with the energy and picking up on the meter.
I've never heard that before. So yeah, that's
same.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and if you watch throughout that video, you'll see that it happens like 4 times, at least 4 or 5 times. I think it happened with all of us talking at some point. Very strange. Hey, Pat, Sally Joe. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Missed a lot of chat. We've been deep in conversation talking, so I apologize. Yeah, reading that chat. I got to get myself I got to wear my bifocals, man, when I do live chat. It's such a pain in the butt reading that little chat on the phone, man.
I got mine right here. I mean, it's hard to keep up with it, especially when everybody starts talking.
Yeah. I really only need it for that. That's the only time I've started to realize I need it, is when I have to read my chat, when I have to read chat on the phone on live stream. Any other time, my vision's still good, but that's now all of a sudden I'm like, man, I'm starting to I'm sitting there with my phone in the live chat, and I'm going like this, and I'm like, I'm probably messing up their view, and I'm like, I gotta start wearing glasses just for that. Corky, yeah, that laser I used, Corky, I do have like the cap for it that I could put a grid on. I know you asked about that before. I love
those things.
Man, I tell you what, Ghost Stop makes one that's crazy. They make a grid. Have you seen? I don't know if you ever looked at Ghost Stop stuff, but
not really. I have one that does a grid, and it's a USB, so I can just put it in my power bank.
Yeah,
and then you can focus it, so it kind of like makes the grid smaller or bigger.
Yep. They make a grid. I can't remember the name of it. Of course, it's expensive. But they make one that's like a box that you set down, and it puts a grid. It almost acts like an SLS. It
Oh,
makes
I know what you're talking about. It shows you where it's at in front of
yeah,
it.
it makes a big grid, and it measures temperature in the grid as well. And then if anything messes with the grid, the laser grid, you can actually see it on the screen. It's pretty neat. It's a little bit over my budget though. I didn't really think it was
Me
that
too.
I could, if I had if I had nothing to do with like rich funds, maybe I'd be spending it on stuff like that, but I'm all right without it.
I have a little thermal monocle I take out, and so I use that. So if I feel like cold spots or whatever, it's like, oh, it's half the cost of one of those, and it works. And I can use it for hunting.
Corky. All right. So let me pop the link up again here. Sparky's Paranormal and Outdoors. And there you go. There's the link for his channel. So anybody who is just meeting Sparky for the first time, there's his YouTube channel. Go check him out.
Thank you.
Remember, subscribing is always free. If you like paranormal, Bigfoot stuff, sounds like a lot of hybrid stuff, kind of like what I do too. So that's cool. Hey, Angie.
Yeah, I do everything. If I have a question about it, I look into it.
You're in Idaho, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Corky asked. Hey, Angie. Yep, there you go. Yep, now I'm looking for more places. Usually I spend a lot of time out around reserves and public parks and things. That's where I spend a lot of time. I've done a lot of like I call them spirit sessions, where I basically go out and Ramona has always taught me the importance of making an offering, like tobacco offering, and I always go out and I connect, show my respect, and I will find a spot where I feel is right, and I'll just set up a couple devices, and I'll turn on Transcend Theory, and I'll try to communicate, and I'll see what happens, what kind of messages I get, what kind of I do that a lot. That's a lot of my
It's a good way. I mean, like a lot of people are like, well, they can't afford to go to these big places. I'm like, don't go to the big places.
Yeah.
Find somewhere where there's not a lot of people, to where you can just hang out, and it might take a couple times, because sometimes when you go there, they're just trying to figure out if you're going to be kind of a butt or not. So yeah, just sometimes it takes 3 or 4 times, and then you might get something.
Yeah, and it's like, what's up, Bob? I mean, shoot, all the strange things that I've encountered so far, I think 95% of them have been just local places, like Claim 3 with the cameraman. I think you remember seeing that strange thing in the red light. Yeah, I thought about that after the fact, and I meant to say, like, that's part of the live stream. And if you go back, because I kind of went back and I watched a lot of the before and after to keep watching that thing in the red light to get a better view of it as he moved, and watched it move away and stuff like that, because that was so strange. One of the strangest things I've seen. And I'm like still convinced that like that wasn't natural, whatever it was, even with like the possibility of like,
I can't explain that one.
Yeah, spider webs and things. It definitely was something paranormal. I don't know what it was. And being that it was transparent really makes me wonder about, like, people talk about spirits, and then they talk about cryptids being cloaked and things like that. And that makes me wonder if what we're seeing there.
And then you have Fae and little people, and there's a ton out there.
Yeah, and I've seen some very interesting small things on SLSs too at times, and that always made me wonder what I'm seeing. In the talk of people have mentioned that before about Fae and fairies and things. And I remember one very interesting encounter I had a while ago on a live stream. I used an SLS camera, and I picked up something, just strangely enough, a small figure like on the ground, and it just stood out because it definitely wasn't something that was mapping that was on the ground. It wasn't like sticks or anything. It just seemed strange enough that it didn't seem like it was something naturally mapping. It was something else. And then as I kept moving, I kept getting a mapping that looked like the same shape and same size even. And I'm kind of like, okay, that's weird. And then I kept asking it to come back, and it was pretty neat. And it kept coming back. Like it kept reappearing on the SLS when I asked it to. And it was
now
pretty
that's
neat.
awesome.
Yeah, it was one of the more interesting encounters with the SLS I've ever had. And it was small, and it was usually low to the ground. And I kept like moving around, and I was doing this like on purpose, trying to get it to not come up because I was like getting kind of freaked out. I walked like, 10 to 20 feet over there, and I'm like, okay, and I'd stop and I'd hold my SLS. Nothing was there. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, let's see. Are you still here? And my chat named it. I'm trying to think what they named it. They named it. One of the chat named it. They said it was a girl. I'm trying to remember what the heck they named it. Roller woman, I think, gave her a name. And I was calling her by the name. And I'm like, are you here? And all of a sudden, boop, popped up. And I was like, man, I'm like, this is crazy.
And see, like we were talking about devices before, and I'm like, yeah, there's some devices I don't trust. But I do also believe any device, including a car radio, can be used by a lot of different stuff. So the cool part is when you have something and you can get it to repeat, or especially on command, that's when you kind of go, yeah, I got something.
Yep. Yeah, that's like the same thing with some of those questionable apps, spirit communicators, SLS camera apps. When you catch something that does that, and you can you show it and you capture it, then that usually one encounter like that kind of shows that they still can work. They just pick up a lot of stuff that might not be paranormal too.
Right. Which makes it hard, because if you have a lot of BS and then you have one golden thing and a lot of BS, is like, how do I verify this is really good, because I'm getting a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get in touch with you, Tracy. I know you were telling me about something that I picked up and I missed what you were talking about. So I'll get in touch with you. You can let me know, because it sounds like there was something that you seen in one of the videos. So I'm curious now what it was. But I'll send you. I'll Facebook message you. Yep, and that's why I like using certain. I started pairing up certain devices together. One of the newest ones I started using is called the Flux 2. And I instantly, I don't know, once I seen it, I knew it would be a good device to use. It was just one of those things, because there's not a lot that I like to use that is different or I change from. Like Transcend Theory was one that I kind of knew would be a good one, along with the Necrometer, speech mode. Those I had confidence in, because I seen some, I seen like Stephen Huff using them. And once I started seeing the results, I knew they were good. And then I seen this Flux 2. And once I seen what that did, I'm like, okay, this could really be a really good way to show evidence of intelligent communication. It's that device that has heat and motion, or it has temperature and motion sensors. It's a triangle, and it has two sensors on each side.
Yeah.
And each side has, there's the triangle has two halves. It has a green. The left sensor has a green light, and the right one has a red light. And it can be used for yes and no, or however you want to correspond the colors to question and answer.
I've seen those used, yeah.
And I've had some really neat encounters with those that showed, how it definitely can be interacted with in intelligent communication.
I usually I still use cat balls every once in a while. I use a lot of toys or artifacts that I think they would understand what they are. Whether it be nails and hammers, I just set them up so they can actually knock them over. Dowsing rods, spirit box are my main go-to, really.
Yeah, spirit box. That's one doing the and I think even if you don't do if you use the spirit box, I think if you do that, you've heard of the Estes method, right?
Right. Yeah.
I think even if you try that, if you have people to do it with, or even if you don't, if you just use the same method and tone, cut out your hearing and deprive your senses and focus, it helps you pick it up, helps you listen to it even clearer. But it's like it's not that easy. That's one of those things I have a hard time with. I've tried it, and it's like
I do
have a hard
too.
time focusing. I have a hard time zeroing in on it.
I run mine really fast, so it's harder to get words from the radio.
Yep, that's the one thing that I have a hard
But
time
running it like that fast, catching the words that's why I record them usually, because I want to go back later and then I'll pick up a lot that I didn't hear.
Okay. Yeah, that was like I probably have done that session a few times only. And I've noticed the last time I did it though, it was actually easier on me, but it actually felt weird. Like it drained me, and I had a weird experience with it the time before last where, like, I don't know, I had something that seemed pretty negative coming through, and it kind of like put me in a really bad mood before.
If you're not really careful, you do too long, it can drain you. You can get dizzy. You can almost feel ill, get a headache. If you do it way too long, you can actually, the white noise and that repetitive can put you in a trance, and that's when you can have problems.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's almost like it's hard not to, like, because you're really trying to like tone, like you're really trying to put out everything else, because you're
right.
just trying to listen, you're just trying to let all the sounds, you're trying to focus on the sounds, and you're not trying to, you're trying to like really focus in. And
half the purpose is you almost want to be almost in a trance-like state, because you want to be so like, I'm not thinking about anything. But yeah.
Yeah, because you'll like miss it real easy. And that's where, like, at first it was hard to get used to. It was like it felt like I was fighting it, and like it's getting a little bit easier for me, but it's still one of the harder things I've tried to do. That, and like I've tried using the divination board, like the circle board with the words and the pendant or pendulum, whatever you want to call it. I've tried that too. That one's actually it's not that easy to focus on and use your energy to do either.
I'm terrible using pendulums, but dowsing rods I'm pretty good. But I have like twitches and stuff. So I have to make sure it's like it's a good night. I'm not twitchy tonight to use them, or it just looks like I'm making ice cream.
Yeah. Yep. So what else you got going on? You busy else other than like, getting involved with what you do with your channel?
Oh yeah. Like I said, I do a lot of help a lot of other people with their podcasts. I fill in as a co-host or a guest every once in a while. I help Ramona, Elder Medicine Bear Claw, with her chat and her channel, and then Richie B. And then I got a ranch I got to take care of, and I'm actually trying to build some equipment. So. Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff going on.
You like equipment for doing like investigating and things like that?
Yeah, so it's a static motion. It's basically a REM pod with extra sensors on it.
Okay.
So I'll have motion all the way around it, and then basically a static, and then REM pod. Cool.
I've got like a weird version of something like that. That's like improvised that I use. I took like these like data cables, and I've pulled the wires out of the data cables. They're like, the real thin color wires.
Yeah.
And I like strip the ends off of them, and I keep like about 6 to 10 of them in like one of my pockets. And I've noticed this from messing around with my REM pod. If you attach them to the antenna of the REM pod, and then you attach those to other objects, the wires in the object will basically extend your REM pod range.
Yeah, you're technically extending your antenna.
Right. And I started doing that. Like I haven't done it very often, but I've done it, and I keep those in my pocket sometimes. And I think I did a video at the Molly Stark Sanatorium on the outside of it because it's fenced off, and I attached it to some of the objects like on the outside before. But
Interesting.
yeah,
That we do it all the time with like the radios. If your signal is not that good, put a wire up in your attic and wrap around your radio antenna.
yeah. Yeah, I'll have to let you. I think I made a little clip or short of it. I have to let you hear that EVP I was telling you about with the Hey Toka. That was a pretty interesting one that I captured. Yeah, the EVPs, man. That's one of the more interesting things I found. It's pretty amazing. Some of the, it's real easy to like hear stuff that's not EVPs though, and you might think it is.
Yeah, that's a lot of them.
Especially outdoors.
Outdoors is hard because you have birds and owls and all that kind of stuff.
Gosh. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough outdoors. But yeah, like at the Molly Stark I was just talking about when I was trying that with the REM pod and the thing, I got like I was walking around the outside and I was just talking up because like the balconies are still there from the residents that used to be able to come out, and I was talking up like I was talking to them. And on my recorder, I got this woman's voice. She's like, they see me crazy. Like either she was saying like, she was kind of like, they see me crazy. Like that's crazy, and you can hear that one was like really clear. And when I heard that, I was so surprised. I was like, wow. I'm like, sounds like she's right up there, like on the dang balcony. That was,
I love the ones where they're so crisp, but then they have the whispery ends on them. Yeah. Because they come through so nice.
And then what really sucks, like this is the one thing about like when you edit, you sit there and like you might have your audio cranked up and you're like, okay, that sounds good. And then you do it. And then when you edit it and you export it and you put it out on video and then it sounds like crap. And you're like, that doesn't sound like it sounded like when I was editing it. And then you're like, oh, everybody thinks it's probably trash.
I have had that once or twice.
Yeah. There's a lot of them are like that. And sometimes I feel I cringe. I'm like, oh man, I'm like, it sounded so much better. Everybody thinks I'm probably crazy because they hear some of these and I'm like thinking, they hear it and they're like, when you hear it come through after it's uploaded and they're like, I don't hear that. And I'm like, I swear I heard that when I was editing it. All right. Well,
then you have to make sure it's like you have your volume all the way like mid-tone on your headphones so you can actually adjust the volume up so you can hear the EVP and normal. So when you burn it, it's a pain in the butt.
That's where that's the one thing that I need a lot of practice on because I'm like, I pretty much am stapled to just the basics that I get allowed to do with amplifying, like everything as it is. You know what I mean? Like I'm not too good. I've never done editing like this before. So I'm always going off of my ears, and there's probably a lot of things I could have done better or I probably have missed. But I've got a pretty good ear for EVPs now, but it's just hard to get them to the point where I can hear them when I play it back. And I want to put that out to like how I can hear it and how I can, what I hear and what I can tell is there to match up with what comes through the other end of the speaker when people listen to it. It's difficult.
Yeah, once you're getting used to like using a wave editor or something like that, where you can boost just that sound and then take out a lot of like the static noise to clear it up. That's when that's when you can really like send them out on a YouTube channel or something and have it really clear. But I mean, it takes a lot of time just doing like a short clip.
If only I could just keep getting disembodied voices like from Hillviewmanor all the time. I won't have to worry about it.
Right.
It could just be nice and loud for everybody to hear.
That's when I was down at the TB hospital here in Idaho with a group that goes down there and they do events and stuff. I mean, EVPs down there are just nuts. Like you could get like 5 in one night. I mean, and they're loud. Yeah, it's like if I want somewhere around here that's like that, not like one a night, it's really quiet and nobody can hear it. It's like, come on. That probably goes to what I was just how I've been starting to notice now, how some places seem like there's more to the place than others, right? Like, you got to figure like that. Like your spot in like the TB hospital, there's people in there all the time because it's like a hotel. And so it's like you always have everybody's energy of being happy and going on vacation. Then you have like investigators going down there all excited of what's going to happen. Energy levels are through the roof, you know?
Yeah.
That's like a lot of people say using like an EM pump or something like that, which some of them are kind of just not, but
I started using one.
Some of them I think can work.
Yeah. I just started using one. I found one. They're actually not that easy to find anymore. And they're pretty expensive when you find them for the ones I've seen.
Yeah.
But I found one and I've been using it. I'm still not like really sure how well it's working yet because it's like I haven't been able to, get anything to notice a difference yet to say,
Gotcha. Yeah.
hasn't really made a noticeable difference in using it versus not using it yet. So it's just one of those things, trial and error. Thanks, Katrina. Well, I guess it's about wrap it up time. Going about an hour and a half. Had a lot of good stuff. Talked about a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, dude.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'll have to get in touch with you some more about some good audio stuff. And
yeah, if you have any problems or you need help trying to clean something up, yell at me. I'm not great, but I can help when I can.
Well, that's good. Like I'm rolling on, like I've just been figuring everything out as I go. So, I definitely, I don't really have any like, previous experience with tech to like give me, a little bit of a, like a advantage on doing things probably better than what I've been doing other than the features built into most of the stuff I use. That's
well, you're always going to have that one guy that follows you that's like an audio freak,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You need to find that guy.
Yeah, that's I could definitely use that for sure. All right. Well, I guess that's about it. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
You betcha. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And thank you everybody for joining. And remember, Sparky, let me go ahead and get your link back up here again. There it is. YouTube, Sparky's Paranormal Outdoors. I think the link might be a little different, but I think either way, if you type that in or if you just look for Sparky's Paranormal and Outdoors, it'll find you. But I think you should be able to click that link there too. But check them out. And we'll keep in touch, and
Definitely.
Maybe we could collab sometime. I'm always down to travel. I got time.
Heck
I like
yeah.
to go different places. Like I went to Long Island, I went to New York, check, see what's going on out there with Mike. So shoot, maybe I'll make a trip.
That'd be fun.
All right. Well, thank you all. And hey, it's free to subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed to either of our channels, subscribe. It's free. And hit that like button on the way out. Helps the YouTube algorithm. Helps people find us. And have a good night, everybody. Thank you again.